Hi, Jack Canfield here, and welcome back to another segment of Talking About Success. My next guest today is author, coach, and speaker Lucetta Zaytoun. Her memoir is It's Already Tomorrow Here. It's about her contagious runaway journey to developing countries by herself for a year. Now, you ran away from your life. A lot of people would like to do that, I think, but they're afraid to. But you did it. So what was it that got you to literally run around the world for a year away from the life you had known, the dreams you had? What happened?
Well, after I raised 6 children and launched them out into the world, a life smack hit that literally just shattered my world. And that was I discovered that my husband had fallen in love with another woman.
Ouch.
Yes, and I curled up in the fetal position for about 6 months because I didn't even know who I was, not as a spouse or a mother. I didn't have my own identity. All those years of raising children, I sat on boards, I volunteered, I was a youth leader, I did all kinds of things, but I didn't hold anything back for myself. I didn't earn a single penny. I didn't have any kind of a career, and now suddenly I needed one. But how was I going to know what to do with the rest of my life when I didn't even know who I was? So one night, fortunately though, I had an aha moment. And that was, wait a minute, I don't have to stay here. The kids are grown and gone and I don't have to stay. So that led me to put everything I owned in storage, sold my car, shut down my phone. That was painful. And I traveled in developing countries by myself for a year.
Now, you've got all these children, I assume maybe parents and sisters and brothers, God knows what.
Yes.
And when you told them, I assume you told them you were leaving, what kind of reaction did you get? What did they say?
Well, they were very disheartened in the beginning, very upset because I was kind of their go-to person and, I was a mom, I was their fixer. So, and even for my family, my siblings and my parents, I was the grounder. And so they were all very nervous because I was going to be traveling alone and very upset. But I had a conversation, example, with my daughter. And she was like, Mom, we need you here. And I said, Mariah, I said something I'd never said before in my life. I said, I really need to do this for me. Mm. And she said, I understand, Mom. And then my family got behind me and was tremendously supportive.
Now, on the back cover of your book, I love the cover of this book. Your daughter did the cover, is that correct?
Yes.
That's exciting. Now, you write about all these adventures you've had. So share some of those adventures with us.
Well, it was really kind of exciting. While I was out there, without intending to, I ended up jumping off the world's highest bungee bridge. I was deathly afraid of heights. Not anymore, though. And I was French kissed by a giraffe. I fell in love with Africa. I was abducted for a minute. I ate a tarantula in Cambodia. All these crazy things happened while I was out there. It was amazing.
Well, now, I've been to the zoo here in Santa Barbara, and if you pay an extra $5, you can feed the giraffe. And they have these long, kind of sandpapery tongues. Unpack that story a little more. How do you get French kissed by a giraffe?
Well, the story is in the book, but I was in Nairobi, and there was a preserve created, and so up on the second level, you could feed the giraffes, and they would come up. They had these little pellets, little oat pellets, that you could feed the giraffes, and they would come and take it right from your mouth, from your hand. But if you put those pellets in your teeth, then the giraffe will come and take it from your teeth. But for some reason, my giraffe just gave me a big old French kiss. Got a great picture of it.
Oh, that's funny.
But the really cool thing is giraffe saliva is a natural antiseptic.
Oh, really?
So it was completely clean. It didn't smell. It wasn't sticky. It was just like water. But my friends, I posted it on Facebook, and one of my friends said, you totally got played. He didn't even close his eyes.
That's funny. I love it. Very good. Now, a lot of fun adventures, a lot of things that were breakthroughs for you. Was it all fun and games? You're out there for a year?
No, not all fun and games. In fact, it's very interesting because in that 1 year long trip, it's all of the tragedies and things, devastating things that had happened in my life showed up during that year in a way that I couldn't run from it again. So it was almost like I relived my life in that 1 year. But it gave me a chance to process it and heal from it. So it's almost like everything came up to haunt me and heal me. So it was really beautiful. Example, my first marriage was abusive, and my children and I escaped. Well, abuse came up twice in that year on that trip, and those stories are in the book. And then also, I went for a run one morning in Tanzania, and a woman came running out of her shack and said, "Kunisaidia, kunisaidia," which is help me, help me. And I went into her shack, and we discovered that a baby had died in her sister's arms. And that brought back the tragic death of my own child who died, my first child who died at 9 months. And so I spent 4 hours with them in their shack, helping them heal from this. But at the same moment, it was bringing everything up for me again. And actually, when I left there after 4 hours, I went straight into the woods and just hurled my guts out because the pain had not been that real for me. So it was really destined, I believe, for me to find my own authentic self and to heal and become whole. And that was the beauty of this trip. That all happened.
So the pain of your own daughter's death hadn't been fully healed, is what you're saying, and it brought it back up to let it
I guess.
Release it. Yeah.
At that point, it was 28 years later, and I had no idea that pain was, so much pain was still buried.
In a sense, you've mentioned this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What are some of the biggest learnings you took away from that year?
Well, I learned a lot about myself. I was able to make peace with my past, which is very freeing and just unbelievably amazing. I also learned, traveling around the world and meeting all different types of people everywhere, I learned something about humanity, and that is that whether you are a 5-year-old child on a dusty road carrying water in Africa, or a prince in Dubai, or a boy soldier, or a young pregnant teen in the United States, it doesn't matter. As human beings, we all want 3 things. We all want to be loved, we want to be acknowledged, and we want our life to mean something. And that was a really beautiful learning for me as well.
That's beautiful. I've come to that same conclusion independently. So there's some powerful truth in that. So thank you for sharing that. So here's this wonderful book. I've read part of it. We've talked about it off camera as well. What do you want people to take away? Well, let me ask you this first. You didn't go out and say, I want to write a book, like Eat, Pray, Love. I want to do that. When did you decide to write this book? How did you come to decide, okay, I'm going to sit down, and I know writing's a challenge. It's a commitment. How did you come to that?
Well, that was interesting. No, I never imagined when I left that I would write a book, because I thought what I did was weak and cowardly. I ran away to the other side of the world. There was no way I thought I would have written a book. But a very wise friend of mine before I left said, be sure you journal every day, because you're not going to want to forget any of this. So I captured all the raw emotions in the moment. So I would fill up stacks of journals and ship them home to my parents. Fill up another stack, ship them home. So when I got back into the States and people were saying, where have you been? What's been going on? You know, what happened? And I started sharing my story, I found that people were inspired by it. And they wanted to hear more, and then it began to change their lives. And so then I realized that I probably should write this story. And then it welled up in me like a baby. And it was almost got to the point where I couldn't not write it. It just ballooned inside of me, and I had to birth this story. So that's how it happened. And since then, people have been, I wake up almost every morning to emails and texts of people who say, this has inspired me. I'm trying to live out of the box now. I'm living with more courage. That's really what I want people to walk away with, is hope of how you can turn every tragedy or every being a victim into a completely new story. You can invent yourself. You can turn everything that's awful into something good if you make that decision.
Mm-hmm. I like that. You can reinvent yourself. You're not stuck. So we talked a little before we came on air about the idea that you don't have to run away necessarily to Tanzania, right, and you don't have to run away for a whole year. Talk about the idea that you can just run away, like even for a week, a day, a month, whatever, and
Yes.
get a whole new perspective on things.
Absolutely. And this is the power of running away, because in our culture, we don't give ourselves permission to take the time to do the inner work. So running away doesn't have to be to the other side of the world for a whole year. You could even do it for an afternoon in a park by yourself without your electronics, just to be with yourself and begin to do the inner work to get back to your authentic identity and to find out what you really want. Most people don't even know what they want. But one of the things is it takes a lot of courage to do that, because once you sit alone, a lot of your past is going to surge in, and that's scary for people. They don't want to confront it. But if you will allow it, then when those things come up and you process it, what's on the other side of that is complete freedom.
Why the title, It's Already Tomorrow Here?
Well, I love the fact that it's multi-layered, first of all. But the genesis of it came from, I was in Thailand at the time, and I was Skyping with my mom and dad. And my dad goes, "Well, we'd better let you go so you can get some sleep." And I said, "No, Pa, it's already tomorrow here, and the future looks bright. It's gorgeous." And he goes, "Oh, well, I guess I'll be excited to wake up tomorrow then." So that's where it began. But I also love the multi-layer of it is, in our society, once again, we run the rat race. We are so busy, so focused, so goal-oriented. It is already tomorrow here in our culture, because we are so forward-focused that we're never present. We're not even living in today. We're already living tomorrow, next week, next month.
Very good. I like that. Beautiful.
So,
All right. So, wonderful book. You also speak, you give courses and so forth. How can people get in touch with your book and with you?
well, the book you will find on Amazon, and it is in paperback, ebook, and Audible, and I read it, so you'll hear my story in my own words.
Very good.
In order to get in touch with me, if someone would like to coach with me, I do one-on-one coaching. If you'd like to hire me for a speaking engagement, you can go to my website, which is www.lucettazaytoun.com. So yes, that's how they can find me, and I love having an impact and giving people hope and making a difference in their lives, because my dream is that I can banish self-doubt throughout humanity, one courageous act at a time, and wake people up from their sleepwalking and, get them off the rat wheel.
I like that. So if you're sleepwalking through life, which unfortunately most of us are, we're kind of a collection of habits and trance thinking and so on and so
Yes.
forth. So it's already tomorrow here. Lucetta Zaytoun, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. What an honor.
All right, everyone, stay tuned. We'll be right back after this message.